What's going on, everyone? Tayler Kyles here for CLNS Media, coming at you with another episode of Pat's Daily, brought to you by our good friends at Game Time. Today, I am joined by AtoZ Sports' James Foster, who recently did a fantastic breakdown of DeMario Douglas's rookie season and his outlook going forward. So, first of all, James, thank you so much for being on. How you doing? And welcome to the show.
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me. Been following each other on Twitter for a while, but it's good to finally link up.
Absolutely, brother. So, again, DeMario Douglas, your video, I was honestly jealous, man. That was so good. The amount of depth you went into, breaking down the numbers, the tape, and everything was sensational. So, we also are going to touch on the Patriots' young offensive core. But Pop Douglas, obviously, is one of the few guys in that core where you really know what you're going to get out of him. So, what were some of your biggest takeaways in your breakdown? You know, just for anybody who hasn't seen the video yet. And if you haven't yet, as soon as you're done with this video, make sure you go check that out.
Yeah, so watching the Patriots like on broadcast throughout the season and the occasional all-22 game during the year, like I obviously Pop Douglas pops off the tape mainly with his yak ability and like some of the routes that he was able to run. But when I actually sat down and like watched every single snap, I was very surprised at how complete of a receiver he is. I was kind of expecting him to be more of a gimmicky, like gadget type of player, but he can really, run the full route tree, playing a lot in the slot. He didn't face a lot of, tight press coverage, but when he's got that couple yards of space, he has really concise footwork to get off of slot press. Like I said, really efficient and shifty route runner. Does a lot after the catch. Rarely ever drops the ball. I think the one drop that I saw was almost an interception, but he did a good job of breaking up the pass. There's obviously limitations at 5'8", just as far as catch radius. He had a lot of inaccurate passes last year, and there were some where maybe a bigger receiver is able to reach out and adjust to an inaccurate pass. So that's a bit of a limitation, but really, one of the biggest takeaways from my video outside of his completeness as a player is how much production was left on the field. I was just going through the tape and I hadn't even really looked at his box score and total yardage. And then I'm sitting there making stat graphics and I was surprised at how mediocre his raw stats were. But when you tally it all up, I mean, between inaccurate throws, a ton of uncatchable targets, a lot of times where he was wide open, should have been the primary read, but the offensive line didn't hold up long enough. I think that there's a lot of value that was left on the field there. And his season was a lot more impressive to me than the stats would indicate.
Absolutely. And all 22 is always important for football because you're never really going to get the full picture from the broadcast. But Pop Douglas specifically, you look at the numbers, I think yak was really the only kind of metric that showed that he was actually an effective receiver. But like you mentioned, because of the quarterback situation, when Mac Jones is in there, he's either inaccurate or he's really not taking advantage of the fact that Pop Douglas is open downfield. But when you really dive into it and look at it a snap-by-snap basis, it's a kind of receiver where, like you mentioned, looking at his size, you would expect somebody who is more gimmicky gadget, give him some bubble screens, maybe some handoffs and design touches, but he can be effective at all three levels. Another thing you did a great job breaking down in your video. Another reason that I really think his future is bright is because Drake May, Patriots quarterback of the future, actually likened him to Josh Downs, who he had a great connection with in college. In that draft process, the way I kind of saw that receiver class was it was kind of tiers of Zay Flowers, where you got Zay, then it was kind of Josh Downs after him, and then day three, if you can't get those guys, you go get Pop Douglas. So when it comes to that Patriots young offensive core, we're going to get more into DeMario Douglas's tape, but now they've got Drake May. They've got guys like Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, also Caden Wallace and Layden Robinson in that front. So from your perspective, actually Jaheim Bell, don't want to leave him out. 7th round pick, could end up being the steal of the draft. How do you feel about the pieces that this new regime with Elliott Wolf and company have kind of put together to try to reinvigorate this Patriots offense?
Yeah, I think it starts with a solid draft class in 2023. You get players like City So, who could potentially be a long-term solution on the offensive line. Obviously talked about DeMario Douglas and then added some key defensive pieces. And then I think it was a solid draft in 2024 as well. Obviously, I mean, Drake May was my top player in the 2024 draft class. The kind of thing where I didn't want to go too hard on it because like I'm not anti Caleb Williams at all, but watching the tape, I just to me the size gave Drake May the edge there. So you get Drake May at 3. That's obviously a huge steal. I thought that Caden Wallace was a player that, based on consensus boards and stuff, was a bit of a reach, but I was actually a lot higher on him than consensus. Kind of liked him more as a guard. I think that's kind of how he's built. And I would say his pocket range is closer to above average than, great for an offensive tackle. But I think he's got a lot going for him. Really skilled with his hands. Does a good job of sliding with inside counters, and just like a really smart, solid player. And, could have some positional versatility along the offensive line. Layden Robinson is like dream build for a guard. And there are flashes on tape where he puts it all together, and like you see the drive power off the line of scrimmage. The technique is just really inconsistent at this point. So I think there might be some adjustment period, but I think those are 2 really good swings at offensive line. And then same thing with receiver, really. Like Jalen Polk, I view as, there's no such thing as a sure thing in the draft, but he's kind of as close to a sure thing as it gets with a receiver. Is just someone with reliable hands, really good route runner, doesn't have the elite athletic traits, but someone that can come in and be a reliable, productive receiver. And then Javon Baker, one of the most fun receivers in this class to watch. Not the most explosive or fast receiver, but he's got the size, he's got the change of direction skills and the creativity, whether it's at the break point or off the line of scrimmage, and then just some insane catching ability, his ability to high point the ball, make really difficult adjustments. So I think I like all the swings that they've taken. And, it starts obviously with Drake May hitting, but man, you watch Pop Douglas's tape. There's a lot of times where he's wide open on a slot fade, and, Mac Jones might see him, but it's like, it just doesn't really have the ability to push it 45 yards downfield off his back foot. And you watch those plays and it's like, okay, that's a touchdown with Drake May at quarterback. So I think there's a lot of reason for optimism.
And when it comes to 2024 specifically, obviously with this young core, if they grow together, it feels like they could become something special. But you got guys like Jacoby Brissett, KJ Osborne, Chuks Okorafor, veterans who seem like they can hold it down this season. But I feel like if the Patriots are going to have some kind of chance at making a playoff push, it's going to be because some young guys step up. So from your perspective, what are some fair expectations for some of those Patriots rookies, specifically guys like Drake and the receivers, considering, maybe Layden Robinson's a year off from starting. Caden Wallace actually was at right tackle towards the end of minicamp, so it seems like they're trying to get him snaps. But what do you think Patriots fans should expect from those guys?
Yeah, if I had to bet, it really seems like, and you're more plugged into how the minicamp stuff is going than I am, but it seems like the kind of thing where Jacoby Brissett starts, 6 games or something, and then you lose 2 games in a row and it's like, okay, let's put in Drake May. I think that, yeah, man, to me, the biggest thing that would hold them back from making a playoff push is the offensive line. Chuks Okorafor, I feel like is to me the clear weak link on that front 5. Is Nwenu playing guard?
Towards the end of camp, yeah, they moved him into right guard and they had Caden Wallace next to him at tackle.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I really like Nwenu at guard. I actually watched most of his tape around like March when I was expecting him to be a free agent, and it's like literally the only time he gets beat is just speed rushes to the outside. He's really good with his hands, really strong. It's like every issue that he has is fixed by moving inside. So you get Nwenu at guard. If Caden Wallace comes in and is like a league average tackle as a rookie, then it could be a very serviceable offensive line. Probably not going to be an elite receiving core unless Javon Baker or Jalen Polk, really surprise. But I think they have enough different skill sets there and kind of strength in numbers situation going on that it can be functional if you've got Drake May that hits the ground running. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it's a wild card type of team as long as Drake May is good as a rookie.
Giving Patriots fans some much needed hope, brother. Appreciate that. Now, this is a DeMario Douglas film episode, so we are going to dive into the tape. But first, quick word from our friends at Game Time. Be right back.
Nothing says summer quite like a live baseball game. And whenever I want to check out a Red Sox game at Fenway, I'm using Game Time, the best place for last-minute deals on tickets. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace for Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. With Game Time, it's as easy as finding the game you want to attend, getting a view of the entire stadium to see what prices look like in different areas, and they actually do you a favor and show you both the cheapest tickets available and the best deals. You can also get the view from the seat that you pick, and between their lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, and job loss protection, there's really no better option than Game Time. And with Game Time's lowest price guarantee, the app will actually credit you 110% of the difference if you find a cheaper ticket elsewhere. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
All right, we're starting off with one of my personal favorite plays from DeMario Douglas's rookie season. I'm really excited. So set this one up for us, brother. And what do we got here?
Yeah, so it's 3rd and 1, playing the Bills, Buffalo's in cover 1 man coverage. And we got Pop Douglas in the slot here, who's going to run a dig route. I'll let the play out. So yeah, I think this is one of his best, downfield routes from this past season. Lined up in the slot, he's going to take the inside release. You see the burst off the line of scrimmage, just a few steps, and he's able to stack the slot corner. I believe that's Taron Johnson. Yeah. Puts him into trail technique, just a few yards into his stem. And then the best part about this route is when he gets to the top of the route, when he gets to the break point, he's going to stick the landing by planting the outside foot. And you can see he's looking towards the opposite sideline of his break. And that gives just enough hesitation to the slot corner that he's able to separate a little bit more out of his break. Mac Jones throwing off his back foot, but DeMario Douglas makes a great adjustment, lays out for it, and they move the chains on 3rd down.
You'll also notice there's a couple flags on the field. One thing DeMario Douglas did very well last season was draw penalties. I feel like that's something that people didn't really mention very much, but it's because of how sudden he is in his movements. Like you see, he kind of sees that, again, also Taron Johnson, one of the best slot corners in the NFL. And when DeMario Douglas had those matchups in man coverage, he consistently was able to beat some of the best guys at that position, one of the toughest positions on the field. And the fact that he's able to put guys in conflict when they are in man coverage, make the diving adjustment, make the catch when he's getting hit. I mean, just a really impressive player. We can let it run one more time. I love this play.
Yeah, and that's another thing that stood out with Pop Douglas's tape is the level of competition that he was facing. He, like, some of his best reps came against, like you said, Taron Johnson, Trent McDuffie, Pat Surtain. He's not just out here getting open against scrubs. He's separating at some of the best corners. Let's see. I think I got to share my screen separately each time. So here we go. You have the next play. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So another one here against Taron Johnson from the other Bills matchup. He's going in motion. I'll let it play out here. This is one of many good reps where he doesn't end up getting targeted. Sometimes it's the quarterback's fault. Sometimes it's on the offensive line. Something that I really liked about his ability against press is that he has a lot of different releases. He can go foot fire, really attack the space, or he can do kind of a jump hop step right here, vintage Devontae Adams type of release. he's got all this space lined up in the slot between him and Taron Johnson. First thing you got to do if you're facing any kind of soft shoe press or anything where you've got some cushion is close that space. And like I said, sometimes it's a bunch of choppy steps to really attack that cushion. This time he just takes one hop step, closes all of that distance. He's not covering too much lateral ground, but he is sticking that outside foot in the ground to at least sell the outside release. And that gets Taron Johnson to open his hips up. He's leaning back, tries to throw out that hand to reestablish contact, but Douglas was able to attack his leverage enough that it gets him leaning back and he can't make contact. And then just quick changing directions here, creating separation. The pocket closes in on, I believe it's Bailey Zappi, and he wasn't able to get rid of the ball, but one of the best routes on Pop Douglas's tape.
Absolutely. And I love the contrast between these two plays because, again, Taron Johnson, one of the best slot corners in the league. In the other play, it was an advantageous situation for Pop because he actually had the leverage advantage. It was really just about making sure he won once he got to the top. But in that one, Taron Johnson actually was playing inside because it was a blitz, so he could not get beat inside and won even more convincingly than Pop did in the previous clip. I agree, man. That was one of those, and I was watching the tape. That was a game where there were a lot of times where there were just missed opportunities on the tape. That one, I'm literally throwing my hands up like, oh my God, that might be a touchdown if he's actually able to outrun everybody. Very least a huge gain, but oh man, this is good stuff. All right, one more play. What do we got here, brother?
Yeah, last play. So he had a couple plays that were almost identical to this one, but again, lined up in the slot. He's going to take this inside release into the slot fade against single high coverage, make another really difficult contested catch. So the Commanders are in single high man coverage. So the slot corner's playing with heavy outside leverage. He's forcing this inside release. He's running a slot fade. If he could just take the outside release and run it there, that's the easy route, but got to play with the cards that you're dealt. So he chops down the arm, releases inside. He's got the single high safety. So then he just sprays his route outside into that kind of hole shot of the cover one, lays out for it, turns around. Incredible adjustment here through contact. That's something you really saw with Pop Douglas is his ability to like be at full speed, turn back for the football, track it, catch it through contact. Really impressive for a player of his size. He had one against Denver, like a really deep reception. There's a kind of a similar catch, different route, but definitely, doesn't have the elite size, but not lacking for ball skills at all.
100%. Like you mentioned, at that size, you have to be able to finish because it's going to be tough for you to necessarily be the bully or the aggressor in those situations. A lot of time you are going to get hit. There was a play against the Saints. I think it was one where he ended up getting a concussion. He made a play while he got hit in the head. And I have no idea how these football players do stuff like that, but you see it on a consistent basis where Pop is in positions where he knows he's going to take a hit. And when you live in the slot, that's just kind of the nature of the spot. But being an undersized guy, he doesn't play that way, and much bigger when it comes to his mentality. And then the fact that he is willing to completely lay out for these passes, something we also saw at times in mini camp and OTAs. Not really going to get hit in those situations, but still just maximizing the catch radius that he does have. That was great stuff, James. Thank you so much for being on, brother. Now, before I let you know, want to make sure I'm considering your time. We're recording this on the 4th of July. You're doing me a huge solid. Please let the people know where they can find you and what great stuff you got coming down the pipeline that we should be looking out for.
Yeah, on YouTube, AtoZ Sports Film Room, doing a bunch of film breakdowns on, mainly rookies and second-year players, doing some team previews. So definitely subscribe over there. And then you can find me on Twitter at NoFlagsFilm.
Awesome, brother. Thank you so much again for your time. And thank you all, as always, for watching. Now, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We will see you next time. Peace, y'all.